Hi everyone, hi David. This is the second video we're doing, so if we seem a little bit more comfortable, it's probably because we already got some alcohol in our system, even though we've been spitting everything. What we're going to do here now is we're going to go ahead and try the second wine that we're trying today, the Cava Brut. For those of you who are only watching this video and haven't seen the other videos, do know that we have tasted the rosé. We will be tasting the Lorenzo Rioja, the Lorenzo Reserva, and the Cosmosor, and all these wines are from the Elvi Wineries. So when you open it, you do want to make a loud statement and let people know that you're celebrating. So thank you.
It's one of the fun parts of having the Cava or champagne.
All right. So maybe while you're pouring, tell us a little bit. Cava is the region.
Exactly. Cava is the region, and same thing as champagne is the region. Doesn't mean, of course, there's the method champenois, there's the method of doing things, but Cava is the region of Cava, and there's the region of champagne. And you cannot call a champagne a Cava champagne if it's not done in the region of Champagne in France, or you cannot call a bubbly white wine Cava if it's not done in the region of Cava in Spain, in Catalonia.
Right. So this has to be done in a specific region, which means that like when you have your other wines from other places, like you have to be making them all in the regions that they're being produced. And we'll talk about more of that later, but that's Cava is like it has to be from Cava.
That's Spain. One of the things of the old world. They're very strict with all this shipping, grapes, and once it's bottling. It's state bottled for us. And we don't need to, and it's not on any of our
because it has
labels
to be.
Because it is already being by in the DO, the appellation.
Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try. Like you said, this is basically champagne, but from Cava, so it's called Cava, not champagne. And one of the good things about that is that you don't have to pay for the word champagne, which adds like a lot of money.
I have to pay for the word Cava too.
Right, but the word champagne costs a lot more. It has more letters, you pay per letter, so it does.
No, but people, of course, when you're paying for a bottle of champagne, you're paying also the name champagne. And actually, this Cava, it's method champenois, so it's done exactly as a champagne. What does method champenois mean? Which is another word like this. It means one of the things is second fermentation in the bottle. So once you have the white wine, you put it in the bottle, you add yeast, and you add sugar, and then you cover it with like a cap of like a beer cap. And then you have it there, and then with that, there's a fermentation that goes on, and then you turn it a quarter of a full turn,
right?
Turn every certain amount of time before you need to do it by hand. So that was crazy at the time. Now there's machines.
Gyration machines or whatever they're called, those big boxes. Right, so essentially after you put it in the bottle, you lie it down somewhere in a dark place for what, about a year and a half, depending on 6 months?
For able to be method champenoise, it needs to be 9 months. 9 months. If not, it cannot be. But we do on this one 12. So 12. A year.
So it's a year in a dark, cool place. So that costs money right there, just like having it stored. And then you're still working with it, riddling. You're turning it so that the yeast moves its way to the top. Right, so you're doing it like there's people do it upside down.
We lay it down and then it turns. At the time, everyone did it by hand. Now there's machines that do it, of course.
And then at the end, you were talking about the cap, right? So then you pop off that cap.
All the yeast and then it comes out.
Right, you freeze it, right? You freeze it a little bit, right? And then you pop the cap off, and then you take out that yeast. And
it takes like a big, thick thing like this.
And then you add...
You add a little bit of white wine.
And then you close it up with the cork and everything else, and there you go. You have champagne-style brut, and this brut being the dryness of it, and then Cava being the region.
So what is actually the Cava, the champagne, what's important about this is it's brut.
That's got great bubbles, great fizz.
It is. So the thing is, two things I like to talk about this wine is for this brut, we need to add for the taste. It's totally dry. Of course, it has some sugar in it, but it is totally dry for the taste. And then the bubbles, well, the most important thing about a Cava, a champagne, a prosecco, any bubbly wine you're gonna have, it is important to being able to feel the good white wine behind it. If you're not able to feel the wine behind it because the bubbles overcome the wine, then there's a problem.
So you do get a lot of the flavors that you would get from like lees aging, like the brioche, the toast, the butter. That's like on this wine, right? You're getting that?
Yeah.
And then talk about maybe some of the other fruits or floral components that you're getting on this wine.
So this on the...
It smells delicious.
On the Cava, I love the Cava because this is actually So you can have what it is a cava actually, it's half the price of a champagne. Because we were saying before, it's champagne, you must then pay the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
So this has being totally dry, it has this fruitiness, this floral part, this very nice, because you can feel it of what's most important, the good white wine behind it. Because at the end of the day, adding yeast and sugar, it is the method for doing it bubbly, which all this champagne thing started with Louis XIV when he started saying that and put it in this way, because before the champagne was done only for exporting. And the French didn't like it. Louis XIV was the one that started saying that this was celebration. So the bubbles are more for the celebration. The important thing, what gives everything, is the big, good white wine on the basis.
It's got a lot of character, and especially this wine is, I wrote in my notes here, about $18. I mean, that's a steal for a bubbly wine, especially from it's a DDO.
Yeah.
It's like
if not, we'll not be able to call it cava. What would happen? Well, they would be
right. No, I'm saying, but it's like, because it's not just like IGT. It's like a real. It
is a real like legit cava, and it's definitely worth every dollar. And it's we're talking about less than $20 a bottle, which is amazing. At the end of the day,
it's up for the drinker to decide.
The flavors you can on all the wines. He gives some guidelines on what it is, on what I always like to say more like floral side, instead of saying, oh, it is really, because at the end of the day, it can really be what you feel on it. And it all happened to us when we're trying a wine, we don't know more or less what it is, and when they tell you, oh, look at the cherries on it, oh, I find the cherries, but they would say another thing. So it's very...
Also it ages, so it develops, it changes. And these don't have vintage statements on them, do they?
No, it's a non-vintage.
Non-vintage. All right, good stuff. And it's at 11.5%, not malicial, or is
no? This one's
not malicial, but delicious, very good. That's the Brut, the Cava Brut from Elvi Wines. We got to taste this. We're going to go ahead and taste some of the other wines. If you've been watching all the videos, good for you. If not, start watching. There's a few more.